Westwood One presents America at Night. Here's your host, McGraw Milhaven.
Man, the weeks are flying by. It's Thursday night. Thanks for checking in on America at Night. Tonight, we've got a packed show for you. Bill Clevlin is somewhere in California. I was just checking. He is going to be, I just checked 2 seconds ago where he's going to be. He is not in Thousand Oaks. He's in Ventura, California, the Channel Islands National Park. He also apparently got locked out of his hotel room, so details to follow. Bill Clevlin will be calling, I guess, from the hallway of his hotel. So that's Bill on the road every Thursday night. Also, tonight we're going to talk into former New York Times columnist, business columnist, economics columnist. Peter Coy now works for the Free Press. He has an interesting article about Bitcoin and why Bitcoin is crashing. It's down again today, lost half its value. What's going on with Bitcoin? Peter Coy will have that story. Also, Frontline's doing a whole piece on Venezuela. We've got that. And stay right there because there's a lot of people talking about them, but very few talking. We are talking about a Jeffrey Epstein survivor. Marina Lacerda is going to join us. We'll check in with her. She is a survivor. She's also known as minor victim number one. And we'll get her thoughts on what has transpired over the last couple of days. And looking forward to that. So that's the show. The text line is open. You can text your questions to 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. And stay right there. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with an Epstein survivor, minor victim number one. America at Night, back in one moment.
From the heart of America, this is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Welcome to America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
Welcome back, America at Night. We have a special guest for us tonight, and with all this talk about the Epstein files, there are really only one group of heroes, and that is the actual survivors who have told their story, continue to tell their story, even when nobody believed them, and they continue to tell their story, and all they want is that for their story to be heard and to be told. She's known as an Epstein survivor. Her real name is Marina Lacerda. She's also known as minor victim number one. Marina, welcome to America at Night.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take a minute and tell people what happened. How did you get involved with this? You were 14 years old, apparently, when you were first approached. What happened?
So, I guess long story short, because it's such a long story, I was abused by my stepfather from the age of 8 till 12. And a roommate that had lived with us at the time was getting abused by my stepfather, approached me and said, let's go to the police and let's tell them what your stepfather is doing to you because he's doing it to me as well. And just being an immigrant and my mom finding out at 10 and a half, she didn't have the courage to go. She was scared. And I went at 12 years old with this lady and we told, the police what happened. They didn't believe me. They were very aggressive with me. And afterwards, when my stepfather did go to jail, my mom and I, our bond and our friendship was destroyed from there. And it was very tough to be at home with my mom, not able also to work. We did start working together at one point, but then she stopped working because of my sister or whatever reason it was. And a friend of mine knew Jeffrey Epstein and came up to me and said, hey, I know this really rich, powerful guy who, wants to get massages by young girls. And I was like, wow, I really don't know how to do massages. And she was like, don't worry about it. He just really likes to be around young girls. However, he just wants you to take off your shirt. It's just like being with a bikini, and made it so okay for me. And being at the time, being vulnerable, really needing to make money. She said it was $300 for a half an hour. And I said, you know what? Let's go. And obviously when we got there, to his beautiful mansion at the time that I was so amazed and so wowed by it. Coming in there, seeing all these pictures, these prominent, prince and presidents on his desk. I was so amazed by it. And when we went upstairs, things changed a little bit. He was very nice. I do have to say this because when someone is grooming you, they're not going to be mean. And, he introduced himself, I introduced myself. We started massaging him. And at one point, he turned around and had asked me to take off my bra, and I was not comfortable with that. And then he proceeded to try to touch me, and I was not okay with that. And the young girl that was with me was a little upset with me. She moved myself out the way, and they began to do some really horrible things together. And I just sat there with my mouth open. And we left there. She was upset, and she did a lot more grooming. She convinced me that, there's nobody that I would meet like that, coming from Astoria, being an immigrant, and that I needed the money and I should go back to see Jeffrey Epstein because he was going to want to see me again. And at that time, I said, no, absolutely not. And a few weeks did go by, maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and she said, hey, listen, he's in New York. He wants to see you. And I was really, really desperate to make money. I was really taking care of my mom and my sister. I did have a job at that time. And I went back, and really it started one way, and he easily groomed me into like taking off my bra and taking off my pants and my panties. And next thing I was in Jeffrey Epstein's world, and I was, got raped by him. And it was a slow grooming process, but yet very fast.
It's 14-year-old cannot give consent, right? I mean, it doesn't matter how it happened. It's you are 14 and he was a man. And so it's a story that many women tell over and over again. I find it amazing that so many people in stories like this don't believe the women, right? It's amazing how no one as an adult stands up and says, hey, stop this, whether it's the Catholic Church, whether it's the Boy Scouts, whether it's the Michigan State doctors, whether it's the Ohio State wrestling team, whether it's, anyone in Jeffrey Epstein's world. No one ever stands up and says, hey, whoa, hold on a second here. There's something wrong.
Yeah, well, people also, it didn't help when the government was calling us a hoax, right? The president was calling us a hoax. It does not help when everyone's calling us a hoax. And it's so crazy when we had FBI statements, we had all this proof, and people still didn't believe us. And that's why I think all of us survivors speak today. It's, we say, please take a time to listen to what the person is telling you. Because even at 8 years old, when I went to the police, they did not believe me. They said that I was jealous of my sister, my little sister. They did not believe me. And that, made me lie about my story with my stepfather. And I actually, minimized the abuse that he did to me because I was so scared, because they made me scared. So, an 8-year-old who's sitting there and really can't make this up. An 8-year-old cannot make this up. They didn't believe me. So today we really need to take the time to listen to what women and men are saying when they are talking about abuse.
Marina Lacerda is our guest. She is an Epstein survivor. The other thing, too, about this is even today, with the hearing yesterday and this recent new attention to the Epstein files that are released, in some sense, you and your fellow survivors have become a political football, right? They're using you and your stories as a political football for or against, right? I mean, you're just a conduit to a bigger fight going on: liberal, conservative, Democrat, a Republican, and in a sense, you guys are being victimized all over again.
I have to say, in the beginning, I really felt that this was all about politics. I got to be honest with you. But standing today with, and I'm not going to go down the list. We have Thomas Massey, we have Rokan, and so many different politicians that are helping us. We have to also look at Nancy May, who's a Republican who stood with us yesterday at the press conference, the only Republican woman who has stood by us. And I have to say, Marjorie Greene, who stood by us, but I can't blame her. I mean, man, I got to give it to her. What a strong woman, but she got threatened so much that she had to step out of this and step down. So, today we talk to all these people and they reach out to us all the time. And we have to say, these people are not making it any more political. They are really trying to make a change and they are working their best to really, really keep our voices alive and in light. So I have to say, in the beginning, we did, and we always say this is a bipartisan issue. This is not anything to do with Republicans or Democrats or liberal. We really don't care. We are here to set the statement straight, which is we are here to help other women and men and make and change the culture so that they can continue to speak and not stay silent.
What do you want the world to know? What's your message? What do you want the world to take away from your story and all the other survivor stories?
Well, I know all of us have a different story here. We all got abused differently, but we really need to focus right now on what's going on those 3 million files. Us Americans here, we're not we're not taking any action whatsoever. No investigations are getting started on these new files that have been dropped on these prominent, elite, powerful men who have came out, and no one is doing absolutely nothing about it. We also have 6 pages of allegations that include not only our president, but other powerful men. We need to take this seriously. We need to ask as Americans for an investigation. We cannot wait anymore. We have people that are 56 years old, they're survivors. They have to wait 3 decades to see justice being brought. I ask for all Americans, please, we are in the United States of America. There are other countries taking monarchies down. We need to do something about it. I beg everyone, let's make this a big deal. We need to save our future children, the children now, from this happening again. Let's all amplify our voice and use our voice to say we need investigations.
Do you think that the Department of Justice, the Defense Department, or excuse me, the DOJ, the Attorney General, do you think they are not capable of conducting an investigation?
Look, did they do their job by redacting our names? They couldn't even do that, but they were able to redact the powerful and the rich men correctly. And then after Congress went there, they have 4 computers, 35 people to go over 3 million documents. They walk into that room and the files were still redacted. They are playing with us. They are not capable to do their job, which is to bring us justice. They are the Department of Justice. I mean, it's their title, it's their job. Who can we trust at this point? That's what I start to wonder.
Yeah. They talk about the Epstein list, the files. When you were there, did you see names? Did you see famous people? Tell us what you saw when you were there and what you experienced in terms of the overall picture of the scene.
When I was with Epstein or yesterday? I'm sorry.
No. When you were on the island, when you were with Epstein, when you were in his under his influence.
Well, I never made it to the island. We do have to remember I was an immigrant. A lot of people ask me, I'm like, guys, I was an immigrant. I wasn't documented. I didn't have no documents, so I really couldn't travel. And thankfully for that, because I got to tell you, some of the survivors, when they talk about the island, they were trapped there. If I felt trapped in the 3rd floor room of a massage room where I didn't know how to get out the first time, I can only imagine what these women went through. When I was in his orbit, I really didn't get trafficked to anybody. The only person that I dealt with was Ghislaine, and I was with another survivor. And I didn't know it was Ghislaine at the time because he had led us to his bedroom that day, me and this Jane Doe. And Ghislaine walked in and he said, a friend of mine will be joining us. And obviously, horrible things happened that day in his bedroom. And I have to say, a lot of my memory Thank God, because of the trauma, I cannot remember details and I don't know if I want to, but sometimes this is what helps me make my story stronger and be who I am today. So that's why we ask for our 302s and we ask for these files to be released. So the only person that I was really trafficked to was Ghislaine, but myself was only trafficked to Jeffrey himself.
Yeah. The other thing is that a lot of these things, you look on the face of it and it just doesn't make any sense. How she is convicted and then moved to a minimum security prison, it makes zero sense. None of that makes any sense.
We asked yesterday, well, not we, but Congress asked, like, who made this decision? And you think Pam Bondi had a answer to that? We still don't know who made that decision. We wonder till today, and we don't even call, what we call it is a resort. I mean, she has catering to her. She has little dogs coming to her. I feel like this woman's eating better than I am. I got to tell you right now, which is, as Americans, we should be ashamed and should be embarrassed that we allowed this. We need to advocate, we need to speak and make it a big deal that this woman has committed this heinous crime. It was worse than Jeffrey Epstein. And now, when she went and spoke and when it went to her hearing, she asked for clemency. If she would be, she said, I would clear Donald Trump's name if I get clemency. Are we kidding here? Clemency? You are a liar. And we still don't know how you are in this resort that we call it.
A couple more questions for Marina Lacerda, who is one of the Epstein survivors. And if you read the files, the some that have been released, she is minor victim number 1. Hold that thought. We have a couple more questions for you, Marina. Marina Lacerda, who is a Epstein survivor. America at Night, back in just one moment.
You're listening to America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Welcome back to America at Night. Call now, 844-262-4729. That's 844-2-McGraw.
Our special guest tonight is Marina Lacerda. She is an Epstein survivor, and she is retelling her story, riveting. And I must tell you, I'm sure you've told this story before. Every time you have to go and visit it, I'm sure it's very difficult, but your passion and your honesty and your energy, I know there are people out there who are listening to you and watching you, and you are doing good for the people who can't talk, people who are afraid to talk, people who are in your situation. So just know that you're doing good by telling your story.
That's all I'm here for, is to really empower people, not to stay silent. So that's all I want to, that's all I want to do.
Let's talk about the Clintons for a second, because they're being called into a deposition. Are you at least encouraged that they're going to sit under oath and tell their stories and tell what they know? Is that at least a step in the right direction in this story?
100%. I think that, the Clintons need to answer. And I absolutely love that the Clintons said recently that they want to do an open door hearing because they feel like it's going to come out anyways and they should just do it. Now I'm just wondering, is Clinton going to come out and say some things that we don't know about? You know? That's what I'm wondering. But I'm happy he's taking, both of them are taking the step forward. So I think that we might find out more things than what we know.
How about this, which is a head scratcher as well as Maxwell going to a minimum security prison, and that is in England. Prince
Hmm.
Harry lost his title.
Thank God.
Uh, the ambassador lost his job. There's
Hmm.
another one who's lost his job, and the prime minister is dangling by a thread, and he never met Jeffrey Epstein. You have a Norwegian queen who's under all sorts of hot water, but here in America, it seems very odd that there's a group of people who just want to turn the page, or no one's lost their job. There's no sense of shame being friends with this man after you should have known. It's a very different reaction in Europe than here in America.
No, I don't understand that. It's really crazy. We are in the United States of America. We believe in justice. I'm very confused myself. And it just only means that we are still protecting the powerful and the rich man. But I hope as I continue to speak and everyone can speak with me and demand for investigation so that we can bring these people into justice because they deserve their day in court. Just like any other average American, if they would have committed any of these crimes, I mean, they would have been arresting them, investigations would have been started. Why are these people, why do they get away with it? Who are they protecting? Who are they working for? And that's the question that we need to be asking here. We are not safe, and we need, us as Americans, we need to be concerned about that. That's very serious.
Going forward, what happens now? Do you think the rest of the files will be released? Do you think Jeffrey Epstein and his ties with Russia will be more exposed? Where does this story go from here?
Well, listen, we have 3 million files right now that we need to focus on. Of course, we want the other 3 million files released because we can only imagine, the reason why they don't want to release it, right? Like, if we got these 3 million, can you imagine what's on the rest of the 3 million files? We need to focus on these 3 million files and we need to get through them first because there's no way anybody has gotten through 3 million files. There's no way. There's no way. So we need to focus on that. We need to bring these new perpetrators that are out. We need to bring them to answer the questions that they need to ask, and we need to start investigations, right? And when the other 3 million files do come out, hopefully the DOJ will do their job, which is redact the victims' names and unredact the powerful rich men. They need to be they need to be brought to justice. This is something that the Americans deserve. As in terms of the Russians. Yeah, so with Russia is a little bit hard, right? Because we look at some of the Russian survivors who we don't talk about. I mean, over there, it's a whole different world. These women are, if you think we're scared, they are petrified. They know that they will be killed in a heartbeat. So I don't know what's going to happen with Russia because, we have to look at it how much ties our president has with Russia. So, if we're protecting our president now, that means we're protecting Russia as well. So I only think that I feel really, really bad and really, my heart breaks to the Russian women, and I don't know if there's Russian men who have been abused. I don't think they'll get. I don't think their voice will be heard, unfortunately to say.
Last question for Marina Lacerda, who is a Jeffrey Epstein survivor. If you could ask or sit with Donald Trump, what would you ask him? What do you want Donald Trump to do if you could talk to him?
Oh my God, I have so many questions. I don't know which one to choose. I would ask, you know, I think the main question would be, hey, why are you doing this? You promised us to release all the files. You were forced to release the files. This was not your choice. And Who are you protecting? Because we know you already came out in the files. So, hey, just do the right thing. Come forward and, we should have you step up and we should have some questions for you. You are our president. You represent America. You represent Americans. So we need to be asking, why are you in those files? Let's clear it up.
Marina Lacerda, an Epstein survivor, and part of the group of the true heroes, the only real heroes in this story. I thank you for telling your story, and as I said, you are helping people. You'll never meet them, you'll never know them, but by telling your story and staying strong. So I thank you. I thank you for spending a couple of minutes with us, and good luck down the road.
Thank you so much. And that's all that matters to me is my voice is being heard and being, giving light and giving power to all the women and men to definitely not stay silent. So thank you for having me.
America at Night, back in a moment.
Miss a portion of tonight's show? Not a problem. Go to americaatnightlive.com to find a replay of every show. This is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
Hey, Nicolás Maduro is gone from Venezuela. He is sitting in jail waiting trial in the United States, and it's been quiet in Venezuela. But what's next for the country? And we're going to check in with Frontline, because Frontline does what Frontline does best on PBS, and that is do a deep dive. There's a Frontline season is upon us in episode number 2, Crisis in Venezuela, and we have a chance to talk with the director. Juan Ravell joins us, director of the PBS Frontline's episode Crisis in Venezuela. Juan, welcome to America at Night.
Hi, good night, and thank you for having me.
It seems that for all things being considered, with Nicolás Maduro being taken out by the United States and his vice president being installed, I guess, as the acting president, is it safe to say things are running smoothly? I mean, there's a little bit of protests here and there, but it hasn't been in the news. The overall state, what would you say, Juan?
Well, I would say that Delcy Rodriguez, the acting president right now, is cooperating with the U.S. In some areas, it's been a slow drip of collaboration. So let's separate the two things. In terms of the ask the Trump administration has made on oil, she has responded quickly because it is in her interest to get sanctions lifted and in a way to stay in power. And she doesn't see any threat in opening up to American oil companies. I think she wants money to flow in, and that's not hard to do for her. Where it's a bit more complicated is opening up democratic space in the Venezuela and allowing for free and fair elections. That's where Delcy Rodriguez, and the others who accompany her in power are moving a lot slower.
You can certainly understand she's got to walk a tightrope, right? This is a different way to overthrow a government, take out the leader and install the vice president. Normally, when you take out a leader, the whole government goes. But this is a new way to overthrow regime change, if you will. And I'm being serious. I mean, it's comical, but it's almost right. I mean, this is they chose to keep his number 2 in power.
Yeah, the calculation that Secretary Rubio shared in his hearing in Senate is that they want to keep the people who control the levers of power inside Venezuela there and slowly walk into a transition. What they're trying to do is to get the same Chavista regime to dismantle itself, and through amnesty, through negotiations, find a way to exist or find refuge somewhere else and allow to eventually have free and fair elections. But minutes ago, on an interview, Delcy Rodriguez, the acting president of Venezuela right now, said that she wouldn't see the return of leader Maria Corina Machado, a leader from the opposition in Venezuela, a very popular leader who won the Nobel Peace Prize. She doesn't see her return very possible because she would need to face charges in Venezuela. So it's many things are happening. It seems like nothing is happening in Venezuela, but many things are happening. Secretary of Energy of the U.S. Was this past 2 days in Venezuela. He had several meetings there, and he was received with music in Miraflores Palace, something that Hugo Chavez would have not liked. But so it's very interesting, and I think in a way what we show in the film is what led to this happening, and part of the aftermath, and try to understand what's at stake.
Yeah. Juan Ravell with us for a couple of minutes, director of PBS's Frontline's episode Crisis in Venezuela. You can check your local listings for your PBS station near you to find out where it is, and I'm sure it's also online. PBS does a great job with its apps and its online digital stuff. Juan, we're also hearing there are a lot of protests. They seem to be relatively peaceful, demanding the release of political prisoners. Talk about that side of the story.
Yeah, we covered that in the film because, as many experts say, the release of political prisoners is the first step before the first step towards a transition. In order to have a transition and democratic participation and political participation, you need to know that the repressive regime is not there to jail you if you say something they don't like. So a first sign of a transition would be freeing of political prisoners, and the government said they would do it. Over 800 political prisoners were in Venezuela on January 3rd, and they have released so far almost half of them. So yes, it's been a slow trickle, but they have been releasing them. One of the political prisoners who was released, and we show that on the film, it very close to Maria Corina Machado. After he was released, he gave a fiery speech about democracy, about going back and taking back democracy. He was jailed again immediately. So it's two steps forward, one step back. It's a very delicate situation, and the release of political prisoners, as I said, is what we follow and what tells you exactly where the regime is willing to cooperate.
Interesting. You mentioned the oil, and we've seen some high-profile U.S. oil executives sort of hedge about going back into Venezuela. Give us a sense. I know it's obviously very, very early, but give us a sense of the oil industry. And do you think that are there people talking about reinvesting in the infrastructure in the Venezuelan oil fields?
We interview in the film Francisco Monaldi, a Venezuelan oil expert in Rice University. And what he tells us is that oil companies, they don't care if there's a democratic regime or an autocracy in a country. What they care is respect for their contracts and stability. And in the case of Venezuela, what he thinks is that in order to have real stability, you have to have democracy in Venezuela. And that's not happening right now. The amount of money that needs to be invested to revive the Venezuelan oil economy. Remember, when Chavez came in, Venezuela was producing 3.5 million barrels of oil a day. Now it's under a million. So in order to revive the Venezuelan oil industry, you have to invest billions, hundreds of billions of dollars over decades. And to do that, you need to know that you're going to have returns. And companies like Exxon or ConocoPhillips, they have their assets seized there. So they also want to be paid back. It's very complicated for large players to jump in. Under these circumstances, I think bottom feeders and medium-sized companies can go in and exploit the fields that are already sort of in operation. But to recoup this oil industry in the ways it was in the past, you need the big players.
Juan, the rank and file Venezuelan, well documented how they were fleeing Venezuela and taking the long walk to America to try and seek some type of freedom and or refugee status. The rank and file feel a little bit better that he's gone. They get a little sense they can get their country back. They feel the more apt to stay in Venezuela. How's that side of this?
Well, when January 3rd happened in the morning, it happened at 1:30 a.m. I was awake. I was following the news. I'm Venezuelan, and when the sun came out, I jumped in my car, live in Miami, and I went to this classic restaurant where they sell arepas here to see if people were gonna gather because usually Venezuelans gather there when political stuff happens. It was flooded with people who were joyful, happy, and thinking that the regime was over. They were ecstatic. It's not the case in Venezuela because people can't celebrate there. People are afraid to come out. They're starting to protest now and ask for the release of political prisoners. So I would say the diaspora clearly is happy about this, and some of them, as I talked to them, some of them said, "No, I made my life here. I'm staying here." But some of them also said, "Yeah, I would really consider going back if I see stability."
I have about a minute left, Juan. How were you received with your cameras as an independent, free journalist to tell the story? How much blowback or how much difficulty did you have doing this?
So I'm an exile. I live in the US and I shot in the US, but we have a team because this was a frontline film done in association with the Associated Press. And the Associated Press has a team in Caracas that we follow. I follow from abroad. But for now, the government hasn't responded to the film.
Interesting. Juan Ravell, the director of the PBS Frontline's Crisis in Venezuela. What is the current state of Venezuela and all the latest there? Of course, very topical and very, very top of mind and very, very valuable stuff. Juan Ravell, thank you very much. We'll look for it on a PBS station near us. We'll check the local listings. Thanks for checking in. Good luck down the road.
Thank you very much. It was great to hear you.
You got it. Juan Ravell, director of PBS's Frontline's Crisis in Venezuela. Frontline does what they do. It's as good as it gets right there, the investigative journalism, and a chance to get a sense of where Venezuela goes from here. PBS does a great job, local stations and on digital. Go check it out. We're done for the hour. Stay right there. What's going on with Bitcoin? And we'll check in with Bill Clevlin. What's going on with Bill Clevlin? What's going on with Bitcoin? That's hour number 2. Our executive director is Alex Hinton. Our engineer tonight is Richard Good. I'm McGraw Milhaven, and this is America at Night on Westwood One.
Westwood One presents America at Night. Here's your host, McGraw Milhaven.
A little bit later, the back half of hour number 2, Bill Clevlin, Thursday night segment. Where in the world is Bill Clevlin? We'll check in with him. He's somewhere in California hanging out. This first half, though, we're going to talk about Bitcoin because Peter Coy, who is a former writer for Bloomberg and a former New York Times opinion writer. He writes about business and economy. Now working for the Free Press, he posted a column on there, I guess it was yesterday or the day before, Why Bitcoin is Crashing, and it is a great read. And so we invited Peter Coy on for a couple minutes. Peter, thanks for joining us here on America at Night.
I'm really glad to be on. Happy evening.
Yeah, so Bitcoin was up trading at the 120s, and it's down again today. It's in the 60,000 range. Still nosebleed type territory, but it has dropped by half. Give us a sense of what's going on.
Right. So usually when people talk about Bitcoin, they talk about, the believers versus the skeptics. There are people who think that Bitcoin should literally be worth zero, and others who think that even 120,000 was the very bottom, that it should go into hundreds of thousands, past $1 million. And it just, this gap is so enormous. And again, that's what tends to get all the attention, the long-term outlook. But what I did is I said, mechanically though, what actually is going on when there's a Bitcoin crash? Because it's not as if all the people who are Bitcoin believers suddenly changed their minds, became pessimists. And it turns out that it has a lot to do with a very unusual market structure that causes Bitcoin to be vulnerable to big swings on the upside and, in this case, the downside. And I'd be happy to get into the details if you'd like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm fascinated by it because it's a great point. Bitcoin is sort of like a Rorschach test, sort of like Donald Trump. If you love Donald Trump, you love him. If you hate him, you hate him. If Bitcoin has its lovers and Bitcoin has its haters, and never the twain shall meet.
Yeah, and people are dug in on that, and that does not really change. You get some people wavering in the middle, but that's not what happened here. What happened here was something. It's like, when there's a little a skier, this is a good metaphor for the Winter Olympics, a skier on a top of a ridge sets off an avalanche. All it takes is a few little grains of snow to get the avalanche going. And so whatever kicked it off is hard to tell, but what we can see is the avalanche gathering speed and pushing through one support level after another, down, down, down.
So take us through it. I know what a short squeeze is, right? And where you have to keep selling to cover your losses. And what you explained in your column in the Free Press, was it sort of like a short squeeze?
Well, the short squeeze is actually where you squeeze the shorts out and the price goes up. A long squeeze, it's more like a long squeeze where the longs get squeezed out and the price goes down. So let's say you're somebody who bought at 100,000. And the price went up to 120, you're feeling pretty good. Then the price starts coming. And so what you do is a lot of people who speculate in Bitcoin don't put up entirely cash. They buy on margin. And that means, and they use the futures market, not the cash market. So they only put up, maybe half the money, or maybe way less than half the money. It could be 5% of the money. They could put up less than 5% of the money and borrow all the rest, which makes you look really, really smart on the way up. But now what that means is the people who lent the money to you want to make sure that they get it back. So if the price starts going down, they're going to say, we need you to post more collateral against your position, sort of like posting a bigger down payment on your house. Or we're going to liquidate you. So a lot of the times the people liquidate means sell out your position against your will. And so that's what happened here. A lot of people who they call themselves, the how to spell hold in Bitcoin terms?
How?
HODL. Yeah, HODL. HODL is the way to spell hold in Bitcoin world. And then the other term you always hear is diamond hands. Diamonds are really hard. So people with diamond hands in Bitcoin promise they will never sell no matter what. They'll ride out the ups and downs because they know that ultimately it's going higher. So a lot of these people who loudly professed that they were hodlers and that they had diamond hands got destroyed because against their will, they were forced out of their positions. They couldn't post the collateral, and the exchanges liquidated their positions, basically sold all the Bitcoin on them to satisfy the loans they had taken out. So you know how to spell wrecked in Bitcoin language?
Let me know.
R-E-K-T. Go on Reddit and check it out. People say, I am wrecked. And I shouldn't be laughing because these people, really believed in what they were doing, and some of them are really suffering for it. And I feel bad. that they got into this mess.
Okay, so a couple of questions here because, first of all, I thought there were, sounds very 1929-ish in terms of buying on margin with only 5% down. I thought they put in some sort of markers and some margin requirements.
Yeah, okay, you're exactly right. But what you're referring to is the conventional markets, like the stock market acts that way. There's limits on how much margin. But Bitcoin grew up outside of that, and they were very proud of being renegades. You know, the whole idea of a Bitcoin, remember, is a digital currency. It's something that operates outside the traditional banking system, outside the financial system. These people were quite proud that they could do things their own way. It was a decentralized system. There was no central authority. Everybody had to obey. That was very appealing. And that they thought it was inherently more stable. It was like gold because you were having something kind of real, not just, people talk about fiat currencies. You probably heard that expression. The dollar is a fiat currency, and that there's nothing literally backing it except the faith we have in the, full faith and credit of the U.S. government. And so there was a sense we don't need all this paraphernalia that comes with the stock and bond markets. We're going to rely on these mechanisms that the cryptocurrency people have come up with. And so they did allow far more borrowing. You made a great point there about 1929. And what's happening as the years go by is that they're sort of realizing maybe those people weren't so stupid after all. Maybe there is a reason for some of these safeguards, and they're sort of gradually starting to rebuild them, but they haven't yet, and that's why you still get all this volatility.
In your article in the Free Press, Peter Coy, why Bitcoin is crashing, you talk about the derivatives, and I understand puts and calls for the most part. I have a broad understanding of it. Yeah. And there are dates, right? I can buy a call for June 1st or February 2nd or 3 weeks from now or 6 months from now or whatever. Yeah. You mentioned in this that there aren't any dates to this, and if there aren't any dates, why do I have to settle? Can't I just ride out my contract until it comes back?
Right. That's exactly the right question to ask. So puts and calls are options. What they have, and there are puts and calls that are in the Bitcoin world, but the predominant way that people speculate is through futures contracts. And there is something called a perpetual future that, unlike a regular future in, say, treasury futures, pork bellies, corn, cotton, has no maturity date. So a regular futures contract, you say, I promise to deliver you, 100 pounds of cotton at 20 cents, whatever the pound. I don't know the numbers, and on such and such a date, and you hope that, if you're buying a call, it'll go up. If you hope it can put, it'll go down. Those are the futures contracts. The difference with a perpetual future, it's called PERP for short, PERP, which should kind of set off some alarm bells right away because it sounds like a perpetrator. But that aside, a perpetual future doesn't have any maturity date, and therefore there is no natural time where the value of the future converges with the value of the actual spot price. And so they came up with a mechanism which is actually kind of clever. They call it a funding rate, and in order to keep the future from getting wildly astray from the actual price of a Bitcoin, if there's too much action on the long side, that is the people who think it's going to go up, they're required to make payments to the people on the short side. And if there's too much action on the short side who expect it to go down, they have to make payments to people on the long side. And it is a clever mechanism, but as we've discovered several times, including just this past few months, it's not enough to arrest a slide. Even though the longs are getting paid now in a case where the market's crashing, they're not going to stick their necks out. If they think they're about to be liquidated, they're going to get scared and try to sell before that happens. Sell high before it gets even lower and they get washed out.
Right, so they will try and cut their losses, which means more people flood the market with the contracts, which then in effect lowers the price, and there's your avalanche. Yeah,
and you want to hear another instigator of the avalanche is if you own Bitcoin, you can post the Bitcoin itself as your collateral. You don't have to post cash, which is nice. The problem is that let's say the market starts to go down. Well, the exchange wants more collateral from you. So you say, "Oh, here's my Bitcoin." And they say, "We don't want your Bitcoin. Stuff's no good anymore." So it's like a double whammy. Not only is the market going down, they're asking for more margin, but the value of your margin in the form of Bitcoin is also going down. It's like a compounding effect.
Yeah. Here's a Bitcoin as my collateral. Well, now you need a Bitcoin and a half. Now you need two Bitcoins. And you can't keep up with. So the wild swings, the backs and forths is the thought process with the longs with Bitcoin that it will come back, and this is just a correction, and it will come back.
Right. And again, getting back to the idea of the hodls and the diamond hands, if you have not borrowed, then you can ride it out and just, okay, I'll just took a whack on my asset. My asset is worth less than it used to be, but okay, it'll go back. And so what happens in a case like this? You might have noticed that the fall stopped, right? We went down from a little over 120,000 to kind of the high 60,000s now, and sort of stabilized there. So what some people are thinking is that all those, probably more the amateurs, more small players, are washed out now. The ones who had borrowed. And so the people who are left are the ones who have the wherewithal to stick it out and not get knocked out by margin calls and liquidations. And so the market sort of found its bottom, and it could stay there for a while and then sort of gradually start heading back up again. And so if you're one of those people who managed to hang on to your position, you might think, okay, yeah, as you said, healthy correction. We've washed out the speculation, and now we're poised for a new uptrend. But if you're one of the people who got washed out, you don't regard this as a correction. It's probably a disaster.
Yeah, good stuff. Peter Coy with Bloomberg and with the New York Times now wrote a great column with the Free Press, Why Bitcoin is Crashing. Peter Coy, I know I had to change your time around. Don't hold that against me. Thank you very much for coming in, and we hope to have you back sometime soon.
Enjoyed it. Thanks a lot. Take care now.
Good stuff. Peter Coy with the Free Press. The article is Why Bitcoin is Crashing. An interesting take on Bitcoin and why it has lost half of its value. Stay right there. America at Night. Back in a moment.
From the heart of America, this is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. You're listening to America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
Hey, Bill on the road. We'll find out where he is coming up here in just a minute, but here's a little nugget of information for you. Research that was published today by economists at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York and Columbia University suggests that through November 2025, right? So it's now, February of 26. So through November of 2025, 90% of the economic burden of the tariffs that have been implemented fell on the backs of U.S. companies and consumers. The consumers and the companies ultimately paid the cost of the new import taxes. When goods are brought into the country, the importer of record, often an American company, is first responsible for paying that tariff, and then the importer then passes that cost on to the others. Some have said that the companies have sort of eaten that cost, but according to a new published report today by the Fed of New York and Columbia, 90% of the tariffs that have been levied have been paid by the companies and or consumers. And so I know it's been on again, off again, and everything else, but now some numbers are coming in that the tariffs were not shouldered by foreign suppliers and or by foreign countries. And by foreigners, it has been paid for by businesses, which in turn, in some way, shape, or form, is then ultimately paid for by you or me. In the first 8 months, 94% of the tariffs were borne by the United States. In some, the U.S. firms and consumers continue to bear the bulk of the economic burden of the high tariffs imposed in 2025, so says the study. Stay right there. Bill Clevlin, BillOnTheRoad.com. He's our traveling, roving reporter. Apparently, he locked himself out of his hotel room, so he'll be calling us from, I don't know, the indoor pool at the Holiday Inn. Is he at a Motel 6? Where is Bill Clevlin? He's somewhere in California. We will find out where. And then, of course, next hour, it's all about open phones. And we will take any and all comers. That's the fun of doing a talk show on Westwood One. It's fun of doing Larry King's talk show. By the way, tomorrow, we're going to talk to Larry King's longtime producer and ghostwriter of a couple of his books. Looking forward to that as well. So stay right there. America at Night with Bill on the Road next on America at Night.
Coming to you from the heart of the nation, this is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Join the nightly conversation, America at Night, with McGraw Milhaven.
Every Thursday since we started, we check in with Bill Clevlin, who is our roving reporter, and he's out there. I've got a big giant map in front of me, and I just put a pin in Carlsbad, California. That's where he was last Thursday. Bill Clevlin, Bill on the Road. Where are you this week?
I got to get me one of those maps. You know, I've been doing this for 13 years. I've never done one of those little pin maps.
I love those
I've
pin
thought
maps.
about. I know I've thought about that. But I think it would. You know how much it would cost me in pins to go back all the places I've been lucky enough to go over all these years.
Well, you don't have you don't have a house. You don't have a wall. Where would you hang it? In your car?
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, I thought about that today. You know, I get magnets when I travel. Magnets and postcards. Those are my things that I collect. And I told the lady today as I'm buying this, I'm like, you realize I don't even have a refrigerator to put this on. So I don't. What am I doing with all this stuff?
You know,
one day, McGraw, I'll have a refrigerator again.
I'm a magnet guy too. I love magnets, but remember back in the day, you'd get spoons from Stuckey's, or you'd get a sometimes there was a shot glass, a spoon, and sometimes you would get a window sticker and put it on the car.
Well, you know, it's funny. When I was window stickers, bumper stickers. When I was a kid and we would do road trips, I would get shot glasses, which it makes no sense because you couldn't drink out of them. And so, you know, thankfully I don't have those anymore. But shot glasses, spoons, but you know, whatever. But the magnets are usually pretty inexpensive, and I really do like postcards because they have the cool artwork and stuff on them.
Yeah. All right, good. All right, so where are you?
Ventura County, California, which is, for folks who don't know, it's outside of Los Angeles, about, depending on where you are in the LA area, between an hour, 90 minutes from Los Angeles. It's a really easy day trip, or if you're going to be in Southern California and you kind of want to get out of, I say the big city, and find a place that's maybe, a little less crowded, a little more affordable. It's a really neat area and kind of what I would call like classic California. Just the vibes, the architecture, just the restaurants, just a little more of that kind of old school California.
All right, good. So what are you doing up there? What are you seeing?
Well, the main reason that I came to Ventura County was because I'm on a quest to go to all of America's national parks. So there's 63 national parks, and Channel Islands National Park is here in Ventura County, California. So it was my 33rd national park, and it's an ordeal to get there, but not so big of a deal that it's impossible, and you can figure it out. So you have to take a ferry ride to get there. All right. So, and I guess I should back up. There's like, I can't remember. It's like 8, 9, 10, 11 different islands that make up the Channel Islands, and you get on a ferry, and it's like an hour and a half to get to the islands. And so most people go to Santa Cruz Island. I believe that's the most popular one. That's the one I went to. So you get up early, you get on the ferry, you take it over there. Some people camp. There's no like, it's super primitive, man. There's no shopping. There's no like, there's bathrooms, but there's not really bathrooms, if you know what I mean. Like, and so you can camp. You can do like the little kayaking stuff, or what I did, I just went for the day, picked out a hike that I wanted to do, and just spent the whole day. I took my lunch with me. So I'm sitting there and I'm having my lunch after I do my hike, and I'm just looking out at this. I mean, it's beautiful. You're sitting on the edge of a cliff, and you're watching the waves crash down below, and you're looking out at the Pacific Ocean. It kind of reminded me on approach of like Jurassic Park. Remember that opening scene, and they're getting close to the island, and that was kind of I didn't find any dinosaurs over there, but super cool, totally a great. And by the way, it's the least visited, I believe, national park of all the ones that are in California. There's like 8 or 9 of them here, but totally worth it.
So there's no commercial, there's no shopping, there's no. Could you buy your refrigerator magnets? No refrigerator magnets.
Yeah. There's a visitor center that's on in Ventura, like on the harbor there. So yeah, of course I got a magnet, but so then you take the ferry, and once you get over there, man, that's it. Like, there's no cell phone service, there's nothing, and it's pretty neat because you're on your own, and the island's big, but it's not like so big, and the people that come over, if I had to guess, there's maybe 100 people come over on the boat each time. So maybe there's 200 people at a time, 300 tops, I would say, on the whole island. So everybody kind of goes to their little area. They do the hikes they want to do. And like, I had the place to myself for the day, and it was just very peaceful. And yeah, it was cool. It was super cool.
Yeah, all right. Channel Islands National Park. I love national parks. No one loves national parks more than I do, but this one, it's just there because it's beautiful scenery, I guess, right?
Well, and it was, there's some indigenous history to it. Native Americans lived there for thousands of years.
Okay.
And everything. So yeah, it was been a national park since 1980. And which is kind of news to me. I thought it was a newer one, but it's super cool. Don't skip it, because there's some big ones out here. You got Sequoia and Yosemite and all this. Don't skip Channel Islands.
Did you get your passport stamped at the visitor center so you can tell people that you were on Channel Islands?
I just come on here and tell people instead of getting a passport. Right. No, I take a photo in front of the national park sign. That's my proof that I've been there.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
All right, Channel Islands National Park. What about these Spanish mansions you went and visited?
Well, they're missions. Yes, so the Spanish missions in California. So for people who don't know, there's 21 of these things, Spanish missions, all throughout California. They were established between the late 1700s to I think like 1830, 33, something like that. And they go all the way from San Diego up to Sonoma, and they're like 30 miles apart. And basically the reason they put these things in back in the day, the Spanish wanted to convert the Native Americans to the Catholic religion, right? So they built these things so they'd be like 30 miles apart, roughly a day's ride on horseback, and so kind of like what I like to do with the national parks, trying to go to all of them. A lot of people, especially if you live out here in California, they want to go to all the missions, and they all look a little bit different. They're, in some cases they still have, I'm not Catholic, so I don't know what the term is, but a congregation still that goes to church every, Saturday for mass or Sunday or whatever it is. And
I believe it's called the flock.
And they're beautiful.
It's called the flock.
Flock.
You mean
Oh,
people?
I
You
didn't
mean
know that.
people? You mean people who still go to mass there?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
regularly, the same people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. They're called humans. They're called
Don't
parishioners.
don't email me, folks. McGraw at whatever your email. Don't send them to me. But they're also really neat, and there's one of those in Ventura County as well. I'm telling you, it's like I said, it's classic California out here. It's just a really neat. It's more affordable. If you've ever been to Los Angeles, it can be pretty pricey. And so to be like just 90 minutes away from the big city like that and have, just kind of just a real nice getaway.
Yeah. Now, did you pass through Thousand Oaks, or did you get through Thousand Oaks up there?
You asked me about this on the texting earlier.
Well, my aunt lives in Thousand Oaks, and she listens to the show religiously,
nice.
and she knew she was following along your path, and she sent me a text and said, if Bill wants to come over for lunch, have him swing by. And so I didn't know if you were anywhere near Thousand Oaks or not.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, I never turn down a free lunch. You've been in
her.
radio as long as we have. That goes. You don't turn down a free meal from anybody. So if I do make it through Thousand Oaks on my way back down south, heading back towards Los Angeles, I'll give her a shot.
Okay. All right, good. All right, so now I thought Oxnard, which is that in then Ventura County, or you don't know?
It is. Yeah. It is. I went to Oxnard. Oxnard is part of it, and there are a few little towns. One's called Camarillo. I actually went to. I'm embarrassed to say this because I'm a guy. I don't really like to shop that much, but they have this premium outlet store, and normally that's not a big deal, but they had 160 stores. Isn't that crazy? Usually I thought like 50 would be like they have 160 of these stores. And so it's called Camarillo Premium Outlets is there. But yes, Oxnard, which I just learned today, they host the Dallas Cowboys training camp every summer.
Yeah, and the Rams, I think, played there quite a bit when they were in St. Louis or whatever, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I don't really go to an outlet mall, but when it says premium outlet mall, I definitely make a stop. So
you perk up a little. Yeah,
yeah,
different.
Premium, the high end, the high brow. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's there.
All right.
It's there.
What's this story? You got locked out of your hotel room. Are you broadcasting from the sauna at the Holiday Inn? What's going on here?
Well, I'm embarrassed to admit this, but so I did Channel Islands, and which is, I mentioned, an all-day thing. You're up early, you do the hiking, and you spend the whole day. And it's sunset, and you're on your way back on the boat, and it's just you're zonked out. So I get back to the hotel. On my way back to the hotel, I pick up there's a little pizza place like right up the street. I get a little personal pizza. I come in, set the pizza down, took a quick shower because I've been out all day, and put on some pajamas. And then I decide, I need some ice for my sugar-free Dr. Pepper, right? So in order to save 0.5 seconds of time, I decided, that little metal latch that's on the door that once you get into your room, you kind of like block yourself in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You flip that thing. Yeah. And so I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll just flip that thing and then I'll shut the door behind it. It'll prop open. And then when I come back from 8 feet down the hallway, I won't have to reach into my pocket and take the car key, the key to my room. And Yeah. So, by the way, so I'm completely delirious at this point of the day. So I go down, I get the ice, I come back, and the door has locked on me. And I thought, you know what? No problem. I have the key. So I take the thing and I put it up to the door, and then I realized the metal flap had shut. So I could only open the door about an inch and a half, and I thought, oh no.
You
And
locked yourself out of your hotel room with the latch.
Literally, yes. So I'm standing in the hallway. I'm in my pajamas. Thank God I'm in my pajamas, And I thought, oh crap. So I go down, and it's super embarrassing because the way this hotel was set up, it's you got to walk through this whole whatever. So I make it to the front desk, and I tell the girl, it's very sweet, and I said, I'm super embarrassed. I've locked myself out of the room. Well, she makes me another card, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. I've got the card. I can't get into the room. And she just looks at me like, what do you mean? And so I explained this to her, and thank God, there's a maintenance guy. Well, now he comes out, and I have to explain to him in my pajamas in the lobby of the hotel. And so the guy's like, we have a tool for this. And I'm like, a tool? You got a tool? That's great. He's like, but we can't find it because we're doing some renovation. So he's like, well, let me see. So he comes, we go back to the room, and he's got one of these paint scrapers. And this guy, it's 20 minutes in, and this guy is just sweating to death. I'm so embarrassed. And he finally somehow figured out how to put the paint scraper between the doorway and flip that little thing, and we finally were able to get back in. And he says to me, now in the future, and I cut him up. I'm like, no. There is no in the future. I will never touch that thing for the rest of my life. I don't care if somebody breaks in and steals all my crap. I will never touch that metal latch ever again. And
I want to know what kind of tool he's got.
Well, apparently this happened. Well, think about it. If somebody really wanted to barricade themselves in, and I'm telling you, it worked. So anybody who's ever questioned it worked. Like it was tough to get into that room. And
if anybody wants to
ask not to come back to that hotel. No, I'm kidding.
And if anybody wants to, lock themselves in, or in your case, lock themselves out of the room.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. But I also thought, what if I'd walked out in like boxer shorts or something, or what? Oh my God! Yeah. So anyway, could have been worse.
That's they should call that tool the Clevlin.
And maybe they will. And that guy, though, when he looked at me, and he's sweating. He's sweating after doing the. And when he said, "Now in the future," I said, "No problem, bro. There won't be any future. I will never touch this again." So that was my big takeaway.
If you tried to lock yourself out of the room, you couldn't have done it.
And to be honest, McGraw, I don't know how it happened. I guess I had flipped the thing just enough, and I don't know, but it was. I just thought, if you could have seen seriously the look on my face, it was just like, oh no,
That is fantastic. That is fantastic. Bill Clevlin locks himself out of the hotel room, and that's the highlight of his trip to Ventura County.
My apologies to the good folks of Ventura County, California. That was my big moment in their lovely area, but it is.
All right, what's on tap for next week? Are you going to go visit more of these national parks? They're all in the area, aren't they?
Yeah, I'll be doing Pinnacles National Park, which is about 3.5 hours north. I should be hitting up Monterey, and next week maybe we'll talk a little bit about the Pacific Coast Highway, Highway 1. Lots of cool stuff to see and do.
All right, we'll find out where you lock yourself into. At least it wasn't a porta potty. At least you didn't lock yourself in a porta potty.
Oh man, don't jinx me.
Bill on the road, BillOnTheRoad.com. Bill, be safe. Thanks for checking in. Have a good week, my friend.
Okay, sounds good. See you.
You got it. BillOnTheRoad.com. How about that story? You haven't heard that often. You don't call this America at Night for nothing. Back in a moment.
America at Night with McGraw Milhaven, where the nation comes to talk. Text line is open. Send us a message at 844-2-McGraw. That's 844-262-4729.
All right, we are officially out of time. I still got a smile on my face from that Bill Clevlin story, locking himself out of his hotel room. How do you lock yourself out of the hotel room with the latch hooked? That is really hard to do. Stay right there. We're going to have open phones next hour. We got a couple of people lined up right now, but we got a couple extra lines open for you as well. 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. The text line, let's not forget about the text line. The text line is rocking and rolling. We're getting great response from the text line. I know it's new for a lot of people, but I have it on my local show, and it's a great way for people to sort of chime in, be a little snarky, a little hit and run, a little sarcastic, a little sardonic, if you will. It's a great way to, if you can't call in, but you want to ask a question, and we sort of mix it in with the conversation as well all night long. So don't forget the text line. Text your comments, 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. That's the phone number or the text line. Stay right there. Open phones next hour. Our executive director is Alex Hinton. Our engineer tonight is Richard Good. I'm McGraw Milhaven, and this is America at Night on Westwood One.
Westwood One presents America at Night. Here's your host, McGraw Milhaven.
Hey, not that I want to talk about it tonight, but was that days have sort of run together? Well, yesterday was Pam Bondi's testimony in front of Congress. I guess that would have been yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. Not very well received. Now, you're not shocked that the Democrats would criticize her, but it's the Republicans who are coming down on Pam Bondi. Not surprising, a Republican Representative Tom Massey was critical of her, right? But there were others as well. Conservative radio talk show host Eric Erickson said she should quit or be fired. There's a couple of others. Tim Pool, who is a prominent Donald Trump podcaster, he said that he was upset with her. He says, I think Pam Bondi has done a disservice, and I give her more credit than people do. I was about to say that I think she's done a decent job, but I can't say it. I just can't say it. That was another Trump supporter. Nick Fuentes. Pam Bondi needs to be impeached. And this one is surprising criticism on Pam Bondi. How about the guy Kyle Rittenhouse? Remember him? He was the guy part of the George Floyd protests. Remember that guy? He took a gun and ended up shooting somebody and was found not guilty of the crime. Kyle Rittenhouse? He wrote, Pam Bondi needs to resign. When you've lost Kyle Rittenhouse, you just might have lost a lot of other support. Holy mackerel. Phone numbers are as follows. 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729, 1-844-262-4729. Text or call. Let's go to Debbie in Canton, Ohio. Debbie, welcome to America at Night.
Well, thank you. I want to say Rich. I'm sorry.
Okay. No problem, Sally. No problem, Sally. You can call me anything you want.
Yeah, all right. Hey, with the Save the Vote thing, I'm
The
really
Save Act, yes.
concerned about that. The Save the Vote, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I worked for 35 years in working with people with disabilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we did with them, we got them out into the community and get them, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What your job you want to do? And, of course, it came up, do you want to vote? Do you want to vote? And that was my thing. And I didn't push them one way or the other. Do you want to vote? And of course, I got to get them registered. Now it's kind of hard with people with disabilities sometimes.
Sure.
They don't have, yes, it's really difficult sometimes to get them registered. So what I'm thinking about is like people who have disabilities and they want to vote, and that's where I'm going from. I don't want to, it's not a partisan thing. I just want people to be able to have that ability to vote, because that's one of their.
Well, does the SAVE Act say anything about making it harder for people with disabilities to vote?
Right. Now, that's where I'm coming from. With the ID thing, right, the new thing that came out, the Save the Vote, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay. Well, it can be hard. It can be very difficult for some people. I know I had a hell of a time just getting my thing done with my card, But here's what I'm saying. Republicans, Democrats, it doesn't matter who you are. If you care about the vote, how about getting out there and making everybody eligible to vote that is eligible to vote?
Well, I don't understand. What did you have a hard time doing? You had a hard time getting a driver's license, a real ID?
Well, first of all, I was not born where I'm living now, so I had to pay $25. I had to pay $25 to go, because I was born in the state of Ohio, but I had to pay an extra $25 to have that document.
To have a what? To have a birth certificate? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a birth certificate, right.
Yeah.
And maybe not everybody doesn't have that. You know what?
Right.
But I was lucky to have that money, so I did that. But maybe somebody wants to vote, and they were, in my situation. Maybe they don't have that $25. And I say, hell with it. So how about we help people, like everybody, Republicans, Democrats, everybody should help everybody be able to vote if they're born. And this is the thing, I'm all for about only in America, only Americans vote. I'm all for that. But how about we help all Americans vote? That's what I'm saying.
Debbie in Canton, Ohio, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You got it. Let's go to Paul in Boise. Paul, good morning. Welcome to America at Night. Paul, you there?
Yeah.
Paul, welcome to America at Night.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Thanks for taking my call.
You betcha.
Yeah, I'm trying to be as hopeful as I can for Savannah, and a return of her mother.
Yeah. 12 days and counting.
Yeah, I just, it's becoming more increasingly difficult for me to watch it's totally inundation for one thing, and for another, it's just bad.
Yeah. Hey, Paul, what are you doing to your phone? We got a bad connection here. You there?
It rubbed up against my body. I'm sorry about that.
All right. Well, don't do that. That's weird. Okay.
No, I don't do it intentionally. Believe me.
Okay. All right. Good.
No. All
right.
I'd like to see a quick end to that.
Yeah, I don't know. You hear about the new gloves they found. Now there's some reports that they want to look into a white van. They've expanded the search to 3 weeks before she was abducted. So maybe there's some hopeful signs of something. Maybe that glove might tell us something. Maybe this expanded search, they have some leads to go on, and they're seeing what. Who knows? I mean, we all want to know, but we also want to be respectful of the search, and so we just have to say our prayers and hope they're following the leads that need be. Right? They got thousands and thousands of tips after the video was released. They got to sift through all of that. They got to figure out what's fact and what's fiction. So we'll 12 days again.
Yeah.
Again, the story here in Missouri where there was a child abducted, and it took them. It was 2 years later, and Sean Hornbeck was found. So, people,
Wow.
left him for some terrible situation, and he, walked out, and they found Sean Hornbeck. What was it, 2 or 3 years later? So. They found
Yes,
Elizabeth Smart, right? I mean, now those are younger children who are in better health, but you hold out hope. Paul, thanks for the phone call. Appreciate it. And do me a favor, don't rub the phone up against your body until you're off the air. Tony in Montreal, hold on. We got to take a break. Text line 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. Phone calls, text messages. Since Paul in Boise's gone, we have a couple lines open for you right now. Stay right there. America at Night. Open phones. Back in a moment.
From the heart of America, this is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. The floor is yours. Call or text 844-262-4729. That's 844-2-McGraw.
All right, it's open phones, 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. Texts are coming in. We'll get to them in a little bit. We got Tony in Montreal. Tony, welcome to America at Night.
Thanks a lot for taking my call. You're great. Listen, a little bit of a history lesson, a little bit of a geography lesson. Takes you on a history tour from Albion, Maine, November the 9th, 1830, all the way to St. Louis. And a person took over and created a freedom of the press, abolitionist, editorialist, newspaper in St. Louis called the St. Louis Observer. That gentleman was from Maine. His name is Elijah Parrish Lovejoy. When I was walking to the center staff in Waterville, Maine, which is not far from Albion, Maine, on the campus of Colby College, a rock from Albion, Maine, which was a marble stone rock, had an inscription to the great fighter, the abolitionist and freedom of press fighter, Elijah Lovejoy. Many of his name is obviously one of the largest buildings on the campus, the Lovejoy Building. Reason he's famous and reason he is great is that he died for freedom of the press and freedom of mankind. He was an abolitionist and he fought in St. Louis for the right of Black people to be free. He did not believe in freedom. He did not believe in slavery. He believed in freedom of human beings, and nobody should own a human being. He was attacked 3 times in St. Louis. His presses were destroyed 3 times in St. Louis. He moved to Illinois. He moved to, I believe it was Alton, Illinois. He created the Alton Observer, and of course the anti-abolitionists attacked him again, but this time they shot and killed him. And the reason that this story is important is that we should remember what the value is of freedom of the press, whether you're in America or in the rest of the world, Canada. These are the true martyrs. They're the true believers in the value of the pen, the power of the pen. And this individual sacrificed his life. He was only 35 years old when he died. And when I was walking the campus of Colby College, I was a curious guy. It was 1978, and I read about all of the annual awards, Colby College awards, and Elijah Lovejoy Award to the great journalists of the United States, those that make an impact on people. And that award is given every year I guess it's on November the 9th is his birthday. It should be. That's what I understood. And, I read all of the great journalists from New York Times. Just incredible people from all over the United States. And I think that's really important today, given what is transpiring in media today, what's transpiring in the private medias, the corporate medias, the internet medias, etc. We should be all striving for what Elijah Lovejoy was striving for.
Look, I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
I think he's a great American.
Tony, the plight of journalism today. I am not, I guess, technically, officially not a journalist. I'm a talk show host. I've broken stories. I have a lot of the same ethics as journalists. I think a newspaper is the greatest value the world has ever created. I don't care how much newspaper. Not that they have newspapers anymore, but access to a newspaper. What is it? $25, $50, whatever it is, to the New York Times. I give them $50 a month. What is that? $25 or $2 a day, and they give me the world. Think about it. That's insane. That comes to my phone for $2 a day. And the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, my hometown newspaper, right? I think I pay them $25 a month. Was that $1 a day, less than $1 a day? They go to City Hall and they go to Jefferson City, and again, for all of their problems, for all of their issues, the newspaper, the daily journalism in this country is the only thing standing between us and pure chaos. And I don't trust politicians. I don't care what letter they have next to their name. I don't trust them. I don't trust City Hall. I don't trust the mayors. I don't trust the county council members. They're fine people, but overall, I don't trust them. And the journalists are the ones who have to, make sure that they're saying what they're doing and doing what they're saying. And for all of their problems, it's the greatest invention known to man, and it's being destroyed and taking shrapnel from all sides. And it's heartbreaking. It's not perfect, and they make mistakes. And, some are too conservative, some are too liberal, some are pushing their agenda, but so are talk show hosts, so are radio hosts, so are TV hosts, so are callers. Everyone's got an agenda. And I think the journalism, even though it's in dire straits right now, my only hope is that they'll be the ones that save us all from this crazy stuff. So, Tony, I appreciate the phone call. Thanks for checking in. Have a good night. Danny, we got to take a break, but Danny in Rolla, Missouri, has had a heck of a time trying to call on the show. He keeps trying to call, and he keeps listening to the replay of the show. We have secured Danny from Rolla, Missouri, so we're going to clear the decks and give him plenty of time to call in. However, I need to take a break here in just a second. Before we go to a break, I got a text that I want to respond to. It's from Mississippi. It says, victims on the first visit, yes. Why go back again? Which is oftentimes a comment from people who don't understand the plight of the victim, the sex trafficked victim, the altar boy who's been abused, the Boy Scout who's been abused, the Olympic gymnastics champions who have been abused, the Ohio State wrestling players who have been abused, the football players who were abused at Penn State. They are groomed. They are scared. They are confused. Oftentimes, they're 14 years old. They don't think anybody will believe them. They oftentimes think they have no choice. They get twisted around. They're 14 years old. To say why go back is a gross misunderstanding of what they're going through. And I would recommend doing a little more research. Stay right there. Back in a moment.
Call 844-2-McGraw and be a part of the conversation on America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
All right, let's talk open phones. 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. Let's go to the phones. We've got Danny in Rolla, Missouri. Danny, I'm glad you finally figured out time zones. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, brother. I'm actually in your time zone. I just didn't know how you guys operated, but
yeah, I know it's all confusing. So we appreciate you finally figured it out.
I got a comment on the Bitcoin thing. I don't know. There's like, at least 20 different cryptocurrencies.
Oh, at least.
And,
there's a lot more than that, but yeah.
And when you can mine for something that doesn't exist, just on a computer, not to be silly, but if the zombie apocalypse comes, what are you going to have in your hand? If you have gold or silver or anything, that's material, then you have something. I'm not so sure the crypto's all that. My second point, you were talking about, Tony was talking about journalists. And journalism was really pure up until, I believe, and I may be mistaken, but I think it was 1968. And Mr. Salant gave Walter Cronkite permission to give his opinion on the Vietnam War, where he thought that the Vietnam War was unwinnable. From there, journalists who were staunch journalists began giving opinions. And everybody's entitled to an opinion, but if you want to be a newsman, be a newsman or woman. But when the opinions start coming in, that's where things get skewed.
Well, hold on a second here. You've heard the term yellow journalism, haven't you?
Yes.
Yes. Do you know where that comes from?
Actually, no, I don't.
The Spanish-American War in the 1890s.
Okay.
So sensationalized journalism, fabricated journalism, fake reporting, opinion pieces, all of those things have been around since paper and pencils were invented. So all of that is not anything new. And when Walter Cronkite, when Johnson lost Walter Cronkite, he might have lost the war, but that's not the first time a journalist gave his opinion. Opinions.
No.
And opinions. Look, opinions. I don't have anything wrong with opinions. I think opinions are, and opinion pieces and opinion pieces and talk show hosts and opinionated talk show hosts and opinionated callers. I think they're all a valuable part of getting to a greater truth, right? Listening to somebody's opinion who you disagree with solidifies your opinion, or maybe changes your mind, right? Or all of that is a valuable part of sort of a greater understanding. That's not the problem. The problem is when you don't have anybody who's at City Hall making sure the mayor doesn't have his hand in the kitty, right? I mean, who's going to watch who's going to watch the mayor?
I do not disagree whatsoever.
Yeah.
And actually, you were talking about the yellow. Well, they had the same thing in Chicago and New York, where money bought the newspapers, and money actually sometimes bought votes. So I know it's not the first time the media has been swayed. However, when you talk about legacy media, when you talk about voices that everybody trusted, and you had, Walter Cronkite, Dan Rather, you had programs like 60 Minutes that everybody in the entire country turned to for their facts or what they thought were facts. That's starting to get skewed. And now,
but Danny, there's no question that traditional media has taken a hit for all sorts of reasons. But for all the flaws of 60 Minutes, all of them, all of the liberal allegations, all of the now conservative allegations, right? For all the problems, that 60 Minutes have? Why do people believe a nameless, faceless Twitter account as opposed to something they see on 60 Minutes? That to me makes no sense.
Very easily, McGraw. I'll tell you very simply. Everybody, and this is a stone cold fact. Everybody wants to think that they are normal and that the way they think is how everybody else thinks. So when they hear something that they want to hear, they're much more able to believe it. And it's basically as simple as that.
Yes. And so it's much dangerous to have Twitter or Facebook or any one of these social media feeds as your quote unquote news source. And the
I don't disagree, brother.
And the professional journalist, right? And the professional journalist, for all of their flaws and for all of their bias, all right. And look, think about this for a second, Danny. Here's the problem that no one talks about. It's cheap. It's very cheap to, as a local newspaper, whether it's the Post-Dispatch, the Springfield News Leader, the Dallas Morning News, the Denver Post, you pick it, right? It's much cheaper to have an opinion on what's going on in Washington, okay? However, what's more important is to send a reporter out to City Hall. But that's
to do the legwork.
That's right. That's right. But the money isn't in, and the infrastructure is crumbling, so that the money to send the reporter to City Hall is drying up. That's why more and more people are just have an opinion on what's going on in Washington, D.C., to the detriment of your local hometown news. And that's the problem.
When you say cheap, I think you mean inexpensive.
Yes.
But cheap also applies to sleazy. And you are exactly right, brother. It is very sleazy. And if people would just stick to the facts as they know them, this world would be a better place. Thanks for taking my call, brother. I will let you go. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. Call back anytime. Right? I mean, that's the right. It's to sit in a radio station or a TV station and just throw opinions out. That's easy. That's cheap too. It's inexpensive, right? But we don't, and no disrespect to anybody else, but we don't try and do that here. I mean, we open phones is sort of open phones. We talk about everything and have some fun, and it's not all hardcore, but we try and go to the people, and this is our goal every night. Now, we don't accomplish it, and we make mistakes, and we do what we can, and we only have so many resources. But the idea is to get to the people who have done the research, who have been there, who have done there. Tell me this. Tell me the story. You've been there. You've done that. You've done the research, right? Come and tell us the facts you've learned. And some people have agendas. Some people have points of view. Yeah, exactly. And it all gets mixed in the pot, and we all kind of figure it out from there. But yeah, no, he touched on something that is very near and dear to my heart, and that is it's very inexpensive to cover what goes on in Washington. It's very easy to have an opinion or to make up an opinion about what's going on in Washington. But the real news is happening in City Hall. And if no one's watching City Hall, they're robbing you blind. they're robbing you blind. And no one's there to, right? If the mayor steals the kitty, and if the mayor steals the petty cash drawer, and no one's there to report it, did it actually happen? America at Night, back in a moment.
Live from coast to coast, this is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Welcome back to America at Night. Call now, 844-262-4729. That's 844-2-McGraw.
Let's try and get through some of these phone calls. I got a whole bunch of text messages. Not enough time in the day for all this stuff. Frank in Cumberland, Maryland. Frank, welcome to America at Night. Frank, rookie mistake. Turn your radio down. Frank, that's a rookie mistake. Frank, you're killing me, Smalls. Frank, are you there? Frank fell asleep. Is he there? Frank fell asleep, or he went to the bathroom. Put Frank back on hold. See if we can check him out. Let's go to Catherine in Vancouver. Catherine, welcome to America at Night.
Hey.
How you doing? How are you?
I'm hanging in. How are you?
I'm great. I'm hanging in there too.
Well, I wondered, have you ever did any personal training like for pitching or coaching for pitchers?
It's a very interesting question because there was a time in my life where I thought that maybe I wanted to be a coach. And early on, I had a parent reach out to me and wanted to have me be a personal trainer for their son. And so I went out and saw the son, and it was a very nice, very, very, very rich family and a very, very nice young man who had zero athletic ability. And there was no way this kid was ever going to play baseball. Never, ever, ever. And I said to the family in the nicest way possible, look, if you want this kid to play baseball, or if he wants to play baseball, here's my recommendation. Get a ball, get a glove, and get a brick wall, right? Or some type of pitchback machine, and put him in the backyard and say, knock yourself out. And in 6 months, if this kid is out there every single day, morning, noon, and night, in the sun and the rain and the sleet and the hail, and you've got to drag him in every night, right? After
Amen.
6 months, call me, right? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, this kid needs a whole lot of work, and I'm just going to take your money, and it doesn't make any sense because this kid doesn't have any talent. And not to say he can't do it, but he's got to show a willingness on his own to do it. And, of course, they never called me back. And parents. Parents are the worst. Every parent thinks their child is going to become the next Nolan Ryan. And they scream and yell and rant and rave. They scream at the umpires. They scream at the coaches. It's only getting worse. And I didn't want to deal with these parents. So I learned pretty quickly I couldn't put up with the parents.
Yeah.
So the answer is no.
Okay.
I mean, I've helped some kids along the way, but no. I just the parents have ruined youth sports for all sorts of reasons. So, Catherine, thanks for the phone call. Do we have Frank? Is Frank back? Frank, are you back? Are you awake? Frank, are you there?
President Trump and his Department of War has moved warships and warplanes into position to attack a sovereign nation named Iran. The Constitution does not give the president the power to declare war. It gives that power to Congress. Why is no one objecting what the president is preparing to do?
Okay. Well, first of all, what happened to you? Did you fall asleep or did you go to the bathroom?
No, I went to check and get my copy of the Constitution. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay.
And it says here that...
okay, President Trump or any President Trump in this situation isn't declaring war on Iran. And if he does have some military action, that's not technically war. This has been an ongoing argument since Vietnam, right? We have police actions. We have skirmishes. We have one-offs. Right? I don't think they ever declared war in Afghanistan, did they?
Well, no, but does that make it right? I mean, just because it's a president.
The Congress has fought back with the War Powers Act, and that's never been truly adjudicated through the courts, right? I mean, that's sort of, that's sort of a staring contest. You're right. The president cannot declare war, but you cannot. You would agree that you can't take first strike capabilities away from the president, right? I mean, you just have to hope that the president and their advisors use it judiciously, because God forbid you don't have time to declare war if there are planes headed for the World Trade Center.
Well, we have plenty of time to declare war now. We've had weeks, months to declare.
I know. I understand that, but he's not going to war with Iran. And
no,
that ship
bombing. You want to call bombing people? That's not war.
That ship has sailed, right? I mean, Clinton didn't declare war. Congress didn't give Clinton the right to bomb Kosovo, right? I mean, we don't do that anymore. I'm not saying we should or we shouldn't.
That's the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is it's wrong. Congress has that power, and the president should do nothing until Congress tells him to.
However, Congress does have the power of the purse strings, and even though we didn't declare war on Afghanistan and Iraq, the Congress did sign off on the money to go in. So in a sense, isn't that not necessarily a declaration of war?
No, a declaration of war is when Congress comes out like President Roosevelt.
I understand that. I understand it. But they are giving them the money. If they cut off the money, he can't go to war.
Well, that's true. But the way it's done under the Constitution is for the president to ask Congress for a declaration of war, like President Roosevelt did on December 8th.
I understand that, Frank. What do you want me to do? I'm just telling you the way it works.
I want you to agree with me.
Okay, I agree with you. We are saying the same thing. I am agreeing with you. Should he? Sure, absolutely. But they're not going to.
Okay, we agree on that.
All right, Frank. Thanks for checking in, as always. All right, Gil in San Antonio. I got about a minute and a half. Gil, what are your comments? Welcome to America at Night.
Well, I got a message on my phone last night from George Washington University, and the Larry King archives that I had mentioned before are now, some of them are now online.
How about that? Tomorrow night, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
One of them is America at Night. Not America at Night. Open Phones America, 1970 to 1990. It's been archived and it's digitally preserved, as are the other interviews from that period. And if you recall, I had something to do with originally setting that up. And
yes, you did. Good work, Gil. You have successfully navigated the Rubik's Cube to get that done. Gil, good stuff. Thank you very much. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to talk to Larry King's old producer as well as his ghostwriter for a couple of his books. And we have found the Duke Ziebert jingle. So that's coming up tomorrow on the show. By the way, I'll leave you with this text from, where is this? The 417. Very good answer on Iran. You explained that perfectly. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We're done for the night. Thanks for everybody. Don't forget, this gets turned into a podcast, rebroadcasted. Thanks for checking in. As always, we'll do it again tomorrow night. Our executive director is Alex Hinton. Alex, thanks for your work today. Our engineer tonight is Richard Good. Richard, no thanks to you. You were hanging out in Baltimore all weekend. McGraw Milhaven, this is America at Night on Westwood One. So long, everybody.